try to scrub the toes of my children. Why do I do that? Yes, they stink. But is that the reason? Because I want to be a good dad. Is that the reason? Is it because I don't want people to look down on me, so I do it? Or is it because of pure, furious love for my children? Here Jesus is sitting around this table, and he gets down on his hands and knees, and he scrubs these calloused, dirt-covered toes because he loves them. He has loved them to the very end. Nothing he can do is so small or so big. So he sits down, starts scrubbing toes to show them something. And what he wants to show them is very important. Don't miss it. He's not trying to institute a new practice of worship. He's trying to show them that the God of the universe loves them and wants to serve them. And he wants to show them that if you love God, then you need to serve someone else. And be willing to get in their garbage, be willing to take them as they are, smelly as they are, and love them anyway. Because, folks, John tells us, John 1 and John 20 and John all through the book of John, that Jesus is the exact representation of who God is. Now, if you think about it, we're like, well, of course, he's God. He's going to show what God is. But think about this, because I don't think we get this through our head sometimes. People came to Jesus and said, Moses says this. What do you say? And you know, there were times that Jesus and Moses didn't necessarily agree. What? Jesus has always been like God. Jesus will always be like God. We've not always known that. We've not always understood that. But we do now. You know how we know? Because Jesus, God made flesh, came and lived life among us, was willing to show he loved us by humbling himself and serving and offering himself a sacrifice for us, so that he can hang on the cross in shame and consider it joy because he loves you so much. He loves you so much that he's willing to say, Father, forgive them because they don't know what they're doing. That's the God we serve. That's the God. I grew up with a misunderstanding of who God was. I had a misunderstanding that God was an angry father, that God was just waiting to punish me because I was going to step one toe out of line, and that if I didn't do everything exactly correctly, that God was going to punish me, and nothing good could ever come from the Father's hand because I was always afraid of what was going to happen next because I didn't deserve good things to happen to me. Can I get an amen on that one? Anybody understand that feeling? But when I started to understand that Jesus is God and that Jesus shows us God and who God really is, that God is not in the fire on the mountain, God is not in the earthquake, God is not in the lightning or the plagues, that God is in love. John writes, God is love. You may be afraid about where this world is going. I'm not. Because one thing remains. God is love. Folks, this morning, I think you kind of got my 3 points, right? God is love. And I want you to understand that you may not have it all together this morning. He loves you, and He wants to be with you. Don't let anything that you can control stop you from receiving the love of the Creator of the universe. One night, my son was still in his crib, and he cried out for Daddy. And so as he's crying out for Daddy, I stumble through the dark. Finally, because you can't turn the light on, because then you wake up everybody. And so I stumble through the dark, step on a couple of Legos, step on this, step on that, find my way to my son's side. Daddy, Daddy, Daddy. So I pick him up, and I hold him. And so I sit in the rocking chair that's in his room, and I hold him. And he wraps his arms around my neck, and I hold him. And the crying stops because he is content in the arms of his Father. I melted because for the first time I understood that as much as my son wanted to hold me, I wanted to hold him. And I just heard God just saying, aha, you finally get it. For the first time I could see God wanting to hold me and say, I'm right here. I love you. I will be there with you. This morning, God is here. And He says, I love you. I want to be with you. This morning, if you need to come embrace your Father, if you need the prayers of the church, or if you want to commit to Him in baptism and to be able to call Him Abba Father, this morning, please come while we stand and sing.